The news has finally broken. It was clear as day, all day, what was going to happen with LSU. They have fired Brian Kelly. He is no longer the head coach of the LSU Tigers, and we got to talk about it. We are going to examine everything from whether he should have been fired, what's next for LSU, where does LSU rank amongst all of these head coaching job openings. We got to talk about everything from the nitty gritty. And y'all make sure that y'all hop in the chat because you know I will always respond and listen to what y'all got to say in the chat. So make sure that you guys like, subscribe, get notifications, and tell a friend about the show because you know it is about to be on and popping right now. This is one of the best coaching positions in all of college football. And Brian Kelly bolted Notre Dame after 12 years at Notre Dame. And people were like, oh my God, I can't believe he did this. He's a bigger, better deal guy. He went down to Notre Dame, he went down to LSU because LSU is a bigger program, especially at that point in time. They're in the SEC. They are recent national champions under Ed Ogeron, and they are a hit. They put so many players in the NFL, and Brian Kelly was of the opinion, if I go down to LSU, that'll be everything that I need. And in reality, and he told everybody, judge me in year 3. And we're going to talk about all of it. Make sure that you like, subscribe, get notifications, and tell a friend about the show. All right. So Brian Kelly, year 4 at LSU, 12 years at Notre Dame, 4 years at Cincinnati, and 3 years at Central Michigan. This has now ignited what is a crazy college football cycle. LSU is open. Florida State is open. Penn State, UCLA, Virginia Tech, Oklahoma State, Stanford, Arkansas, Oregon State, UAB, Colorado State, all open right now. And that's before we even get to Auburn potentially being open. Hugh Freeze got a stay of execution this weekend. Florida State, same thing. And right now, before we know all of the details, Brian Kelly is owed $53 million of buyout money. And this is going to be the second biggest buyout in college football history. Uh, our, our Mr. Man over at Texas A&M, Jimbo Fisher, he holds the record at $76 million. So even if Brian Kelly agreed to even half of what is owed to him at $27 million, because this was becoming an untenable situation between him and the fans and the administration and everybody, and they're sitting at 5-3. They're sitting at 5-3. This had become such an untenable situation that he might have said, you know what, I don't even want to be here no more either. Let's figure out a way to work this out. Now, I will say, I don't know how many people would be willing to forego $700,000 a month, which is what he would be owed. So, according to his contract, LSU would have 6 years remaining on his deal. 6 years remaining on Brian Kelly's deal. And they would owe him $53.29 million after this season. And that buyout, because he makes over $10 million this year, that buyout would drop to, 43 after 26 and all this stuff. But no, no, no. Since they fired him, I have no idea why he would not take the $185,000 a month until December 31st, 2031. I don't know why he would not take that option. Now, he does have offset language in his contract to where if he ends up as the head coach of another university, or any other job, then that takes off. So, for instance, if somebody hires him at $7 million a year, he's going to end up with LSU's only going to have to pay him $3 million and some change based upon that. So, offset language is good, but listen to the other perks that this man is losing as far as this job. $1.2 million of an interest-free mortgage with relocation costs up to $1.2 million. Relocation costs of $1.2 million for his housing. And then the Tigers were also paying an annual car allowance of $275,000. An annual car allowance and $275,000 a year for private air travel and Baton Rouge Country Club membership. So that is the deal that he had. But we got to start talking about, where did this go wrong? I will tell you that Brian Kelly, when he took the LSU job, he made crucial missteps. And everybody should have seen that this was a bad idea from the beginning. Okay, so first thing that happened when he left Notre Dame. Did anybody pay attention to the fact that only one coach came with him, and Mike Denbrock, their offensive coordinator, who then turned around and left the following season and went, 2 seasons later, and went back to Notre Dame? Did anybody pay attention to that? When coaches leave, let's look at Jed Fish. He left Arizona, went up to Washington. Pretty much the whole coaching staff went with him. That means that you are well liked and trusted by the people that you work with. So either one or two things happen. Either Brian Kelly just left his assistants behind and was like, I'll go get better ones than these guys. So either he bigger, better dealed his staff, or his staff was like, we ain't really fooling with you, BK. We ain't really in this with you like that. So either one of the two things happen. And either one of them ain't good. So that was his first mistake, was when he left Notre Dame, and the first sign that something was wrong when he didn't have a bunch of other coaches come with him. That's first thing. The second mistake that he made was when he got up in that up at the game and said, and used that fake Cajun accent. Hey y'all, we over here. Go Tigers. Trying to sound like a mix of Midwestern guy meets Ed Ogeron. And people saw right through it instantly. So that was the second mistake. Third mistake, and probably the most crucial mistake that Brian Kelly made the entire time, is that when he went down to LSU, one of the first people that he fired was Tommy Moffitt. He is a legendary strength and conditioning coach who was part of all 3 LSU titles this century. And guess where Tommy Moffitt is right now? He's over at Texas A&M, who pushed them around and bullied LSU yesterday. That's where he is. And then you had that new strength and conditioning coach, because LSU had a long-standing tradition of, if you were an NFL player, if you were a player who went to the league, then you could use their weight room. Well, their new strength and conditioning coach, they had a guy who was a fringe NFL player. He was a special teams guy and all this stuff, but he was an NFL player. They kicked him up out of the weight room. And this is the reason why relationships started to strain with guys like the Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu, and other people. It was because of things like this. And so that was a huge mistake, because the strength and conditioning staff is honestly one of the most important resources for a head coach. Now, I'm not saying that you are forced to keep the former strength and conditioning staff, because I don't think that you should be. However, though, it is very important to understand that the strength and conditioning staff are the people who have the in with the players. They are with the players more than the coaches are, and they hear them private conversations, and they know what the real temperature in the room is. So that was the first mistake, firing him without, understanding that this guy was an institution at the university, as opposed to just some fly-by-night strength and conditioning coach. And the second person that he fired, which is crazy, is Greg Stringfellow, who is AKA G String. He was their equipment manager. And the equipment manager is another one of those eyes and ears type of people for a coaching staff. Eyes and ears for the coaching staff. And this was a bad idea. Bad idea because the equipment manager is just like the strength and conditioning coach. He knows, and his job, he knows where the storage sheds are, knows where the uniforms are, knows where all of these things are, and knows the players intimately. So when you have no connection from the strength and conditioning staff, from the equipment staff to the coaches, and you are new in the building and you're bringing in all new coaches because you didn't bring your guys with you, you are going to be and you're in a new place, new environment, everything else. You are setting yourself up for disaster, which is exactly what Brian Kelly did. Misstep after misstep. Those were the three biggest things that he did to put himself in the situation right now. So, and when you are not well liked, when in life, people will put up with somebody that they deem to be an asshole when they believe that you're winning, that the replacement value of you is low, that they can't go find another you. It's just like when players get in trouble. If they get arrested, they get, they mouth off to the coach, they do all of this stuff, they're late for meetings. They don't fire them if they're great. But the minute that the problems outweigh their addition and their value, they get rid of them. And that's exactly what happened at here at LSU. This potentially $53 million buyout is a lot. And this is a situation where they had to go to the governor to talk about this. So people missed a little bit of the reporting that Ross Dellinger said. LSU, their officials, they went to go talk to the governor. Brian Kelly's the highest paid state employee. And LSU, this was not going to be a privately funded firing. Where if you're at Texas Tech and you want to fire a coach, you got to talk to Cody Campbell. You ain't got to talk to the governor. You want to fire somebody at Oregon, you got to go talk to Phil Knight. You don't have to go talk to the governor of Oregon. You have to go talk to who is writing the check. So this appears to be that the state of Louisiana is writing the check. So this is crazy. And now FBS schools have already committed to spend more than $140 million on fired coaches. And that's if Brian Kelly agreed to half of what he's owed. If he didn't, we over 160. This is the most in the history of college athletics, which would the most had ever been paid is $132 million in buyouts in 2023. The season ain't even over yet. We still got Auburn and Florida State who might be open as well. This is wild. So now you think about who is going to be the next head coach at LSU. Actually, first of all, was this fair? Because LSU is 5-3 right now. They beat Clemson to start the season. And remember, I came on here and I told everybody at the beginning of the season, once they beat LSU, Brian Kelly put way too much emphasis on that win. He came out and he told everybody, he was like, "Oh man, that was a great win." And remember, he actually criticized Dabo Swinney at Clemson because Dabo Swinney said, "Well, we got a D. I'm sorry, that LSU played a D game. We played an F game." And he was like, "I don't know what that D was." And you're like, hold up. When you watch the film, Clemson was awful in the game, god awful. And LSU's offense was atrocious in the game. And then we find out that Clemson ain't that good this season. And then they got a struggle bus win over Florida. And then they lost to Ole Miss, and people were like, okay, this is weird. But you know what? Still potentially a playoff team. South Carolina, struggle bus with South Carolina, only scored 20 points. This is weird. Garrett Nussmeier, 4,000 yards last year. This year on pace for 2,800. Something ain't right. Then you lose to Vanderbilt. Then you get absolutely boat raced in a night game where you are supposed to have the ultimate advantage. Playing at home in Death Valley, that is supposed to be the greatest advantage in college football, according to some people. And then you find out. Um, so so that is crazy. And mind you, they fired him before they go play at Alabama. They were just like, we're sick of it. And this is why it matters whether people like you or not. Because Brian Kelly was up in staffers' faces, offensive coordinator face, call good plays and this. When you berate people, when you treat people like Brian Kelly has treated people, when you do things like the kid falling off the scaffolding at Notre Dame and you react how you did, when the kid ended up getting sick and had the brain situation at LSU, and the family is like, he ain't really coming to come see us. He ain't really checking in on him. That ain't good. That is not good. It is never going to go over well because when you start falling, when you climb over everybody and you too busy for them, you too good for them, you treat them crazy, on the way down, they they will move out of the way and let you fall. They will not catch you. They will not break your fall. And that's exactly what happened to Brian Kelly. Nobody was going to break his fall in this situation. They weren't. They were like, "Hey, sorry, bro. If he dies, he dies." Rocky style. And he's a coach that uses this CEO model. Like, he's not an offensive coordinator, he's not a defensive coordinator. He is the CEO model head coach. Now the next question is he hireable immediately? Answer is yes. He's not a terrible head coach. He is a winning head coach. But the question, and when you look at the man's history, let's look at his coaching record. That way we can be clear about what type of coach that this man is. This is a man who has been at Central Michigan, then for 3 years, 4, 6, 9. Then goes over to Cincinnati, 10 games, 11 games, 12 games. At Notre Dame, won 12 games, 10 games, 10, 12, 11, 10, 11. This is a winning head coach. And then even at LSU, 10 wins, 10 wins, 9 wins. And now he's sitting at 5-3. The expectations at LSU are different. Now, the question is this: how much different should the expectations really be at LSU? We are in the new era of college football. We are not in the old era. And they're sitting there watching Indiana have success. They're watching Alabama have success. And they're like, if Alabama's going to the playoff with Kalen DeBoer and they're winning, why are we down 3 games already? And I say that there are 2 rules for firing a head coach. Number one, is there a loss? I'm sorry, is there somebody that you can guaranteed get that will do a better job? And I'm not, yes, at LSU, you have to be thinking there's somebody that we can get that is going to at least at a floor do what Brian Kelly's doing. And then you think, all right, the next question is there a loss of hope? Yes, there's a loss of hope. And I saw Van Latham say something earlier, and I thought it was just crazy good. He's because he's an LSU fan. And he said that when you think about people of faith, right? When they say that they're having a crisis of faith, they haven't lost faith. They're just having a crisis of faith. And just as long as they got a little bit left, that's all that matters. And you can rebuild trust. Trust can be rebuilt, but you can't rebuild a loss of faith. And I was like, damn, when faith is lost, there's no coming back. And people had lost faith in Brian Kelly, which is, crazy. But the next question is, who should be the next head coach at LSU? Who's going to want this job? Because this is an excellent job. But here is what I know from the people that, from when I talk to head coaches, and you can go on the Unafraid Show on the YouTube channel and watch Dabo Sweeney, Dan Lanning, Kenny Dillingham, Brett Bielema, whole bunch of other coaches on there. And I have a bunch of friends who I played with who are assistant coaches, current head coaches, talk to head coaches regularly. One of the things that they have changed as far as the, like, 10 years ago, if the LSU job came open, pretty much every coach in America who wasn't at about 5 or 6 schools would leave and go to that job. But now we are in the NIL and transfer portal era. Expectations are not right at LSU right now. And they're like, why would I go there? I am having success at Notre Dame. I'm having success at whatever job I'm at. They are resourcing me. We're growing. I have sway with the administration. Firing me is gonna be, I'm gonna get a little more leeway. Instead of going over there, pressure is crazy high. Recruiting is not just a layup like it used to be, even though that the state of Louisiana is a hotbed for recruiting. One of the most per capita NFL players, but one of the states with the highest per capita of NFL players. So that's something. And that is crazy. And that is crazy. And LSU is definitely a blue blood university. And you guys, I see you guys in the chat. I will get to you in just a minute because I don't want to forget you, but you can stand out in the chat. All right. So who should take this head coaching job? Because every fan, right? We got to look at what the fans want versus reality. And I believe Penn State is learning what reality really looks like because they believe that they should be a a job that anybody would leave where they are. Well, fans want a big name, and schools get lost when they want to win the press conference. When they want to win the press conference with the name. So I'm going to tell you the first names that you are going to hear about this LSU job. Number one, you're going to hear Nick Saban, which I would call Nick Saban. I absolutely would. But then the next name that you're going to hear, Urban Meyer. I'm not calling Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer is one of the greatest college football coaches of all time. However, I do not believe that the way he ruled at Florida and the success that he was able to have there and at Ohio State, I don't believe that translates to this era of college football. Not that he's not a great coach. I mean, there's plenty of great coaches who don't translate from era to era, and I would not take that sort of risk because what it's going to cost to get Urban Meyer, he's going to be like, I'm not coming out of here. Dude, I should be one of the highest paid head coaches in college football. So now you're going to pay him $12, $13 million when he hadn't coached in a long time. And in this era, the last place went bad at Jacksonville. Throw Urban Meyer out of your discussion, first of all. But he's going to be brought up. Third name that you're going to hear Lane Kiffin. So now you got Florida fans scared because they think that they're getting Lane Kiffin. LSU is probably going to press to get Lane Kiffin. Ole Miss fans are scared because they're like, don't leave us Lane. So Lane Kiffin is going to be a hot commodity. He is going to get paid so much money for this. Like he is going to get buku bread for this. So that's a name that you're going to hear. Of course, we need to call Marcus Freeman. Marcus Freeman is not leaving Notre Dame except for an NFL job. You can book that. You can take that to the bank. He ain't going for the LSU job, ain't going for Florida. None of them. He's staying at Notre Dame. And then you're going to hear, well, we got to make Dan Lanning say no. I'll say it for you. Dan Lanning ain't leaving Oregon. So now we start to get down to these other names that you're going to hear. one of the names that you will see as well is um is Jimbo Fisher. And I'm like, you're going to hire Jimbo Fisher, who just robbed Texas A&M? Okay, if you wanted to do that, all right, make it make it so. Go ahead if you want to go down that move. But here are the other names that you need to be putting. Oh, what? And you're also gonna hear Joe Brady, who was part of the LSU National Championship in 2019, one of the best teams ever. He is the offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills, who are going to the playoffs. So he ain't even gonna be available at least until mid-January. And they just beat the Carolina Panthers 40-3 or 40-9 today. 46, something. It was crazy. And you think he's going to turn around and leave Buffalo to come back and recruit in college football when he's on track to being an NFL head coach? No, sir. No, sir. I'm sorry. Take Joe Brady. Penn State, take Joe Brady out your brain, all of this stuff. Next coach that you're going to hear, James Franklin. I'm like, wait, what? What are we doing? He'll give you the same results as Brian Kelly. Not that he's a bad coach, because I would hire James Franklin. I just wouldn't hire James Franklin if I were expecting national championships. He would be my idea of a bridge coach, to where if we're Florida State and we fire Mike Norvell, then I'm bringing in a James Franklin type to raise the floor. Because I just need to stabilize things over there. I need an adult in the room, somebody who's done this and had success at a big time program for a while. So those are the names that you're going to hear initially. And then after that, you're going to start hearing Rhett Lashley, who's over there at SMU. You're going to start hearing Louisville's Jeff Brom, Brent Key at Georgia Tech. And I'm going to tell you this. I do not believe, and I know that LSU fans are going to scoff at this, but I do not believe Georgia Tech's head coach, Brent Key, Clark Lee from Vanderbilt, Kenny Dillingham from Arizona State, Jeff Brom from Louisville, or Kalani Sitake from BYU would be willing to leave where they are at their alma maters, where they played, except for Kenny Dillingham, but he grew up there. His mom and dad and sister all live on the same street. They went to games together as kids. None of those coaches are leaving for LSU. So you might as well cross those names off the list. I'm sorry, LSU, that don't mean you don't have a great job, but these coaches know that's a losing proposition. Hell, they fired Ed Ogeron after he won a national championship. They will get you up out of there. That is a job for that. That is a retirement plan job, is what it is. Now, the other names that you're going to hear, well, the names that should be on LSU's list, the names that should be on LSU's list, Fran Brown, but I believe he should be Penn State's head coach. That's the guy that Penn State needs to hire. I would look at Brian Haynes, Indiana's defensive coordinator. I would look at Ohio State's offensive coordinator, Brian Hartline. His recruiting goes crazy. I would look at Bob Chesney from James Madison. I would look at Georgia's defensive coordinator, Glenn Schumann. I'm looking at all of those names early in my coaching search situation. All of them. Or check this out. Iowa State's Matt Campbell. Reasonable, right? Very reasonable. Or Missouri's Eli Drinkwitz. Now, if you're Drinkwitz, you cannot sit up here and be like, ooh, Missouri, LSU. He's starting to build up sway with the administration. He can get things that he wants. And then you're like, let me go down to LSU. He's really going to have to think about that. And I'm telling you, he might take the job if you offer it to him, but I don't know. All right, let me hop in the chat real quick and see what y'all have to say. Um, it said we need a coach who wants to win. What do you mean wants to win? I mean, I'm assuming that all of them want to win. So here is the thing that people keep bringing up. Mr. Steal Your Coach energy. There's a lot of Mr. Steal Your Coach energy going on right now. I want you guys to find me a time where stealing a head coach has worked. Aside from in the Power Four, aside from Nick Saban getting stolen from Michigan State down to LSU, find me another time where that worked. I'll wait. I'm gonna let y'all drop that in the chat. Where you stole a coach from a Power Four university and it were and to another Power Four university. I'm not talking about Tulane to LSU. Hell, you actually might consider John Summerall, who's right down the street at Tulane. He's doing a great job there. But you know what? LSU fans feel like they're a little too good for John Summerall. Um, Now they said now if they can lure Brady from the NFL, that would be a win. Sure, assuming, but I highly doubt Joe Brady would be willing to leave. And then when is he going to leave? You're going to miss out on the transfer portal class and the recruiting class. If so, come on, man. And we are living in an era now where NIL and the transfer portal have absolutely nerfed blue blood programs. USC doesn't have the same advantage that it used to over Oregon, over Washington, over anybody else. You can win anywhere where you are resourced, you have dog recruiters, and you have, and you're putting a good product on the field and dudes in the NFL. That's the truth. Oh wow. LSC. See, here's the unrealistic expectations of LSU fans, and this is no disparagement to you. Is that we won a championship? We are LSU. We should play for a championship almost every other year. Now, if you are saying play for a championship, are you saying top 12 action that you should make the college football playoff every other year? If that's what you're saying, I can get down with that as an LSU as a university thing. That yes, your expectation is to make the college football playoff every other year because if you get in the tournament, you got a shot. So that's playing for a national championship. I can co-sign that. And every other year means that one year, then you might make it the next year, and then you don't make it for a year or two, and then you're back in it after that. Like that's what every other year means, which I think that that's reasonable for LSU. Um, oh, J GJ Kinney over there at Texas State, he should be an option. But the issue is do LSU fans really want a good coach or do they a winning coach or do they want a name? Because we are here in this era of college football and here's what I'm going to tell you. Firing coaches at this level is 100% unsustainable. Firing coaches like we're doing right now is 100% unsustainable. You can't keep calling on the governor. You can't keep calling on the boosters to fund buyouts. The well will run dry at some point in time, and then we will blame the players. Oh, how is there not enough money to pay the players when you're paying almost $200 million in buyouts already this college football season? Come on, man. But paying the players, that's a bridge too far. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And LSU wants in the chat. We want a championship winning coach. Who are you gonna go get? How many active head coaches right now have a championship? I believe Ryan Day's the only one. Ryan, so are you gonna get Ryan? Ryan Day. No, you need a coach who will win a championship, not a coach who's already won a championship, because that is that's not the way that this works. All right, so I believe that you are going to that as this develops, I will be breaking news in terms of who is really a threat to have this job and all this stuff. And then you got to think about Ryan Silverfield at Memphis, what he's doing over there. He's got to be on a list. But what I would do if I were LSU, I would be looking for a coach who is a winner, a coach who has done some sustainable things at other places, and not be afraid of hiring a offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator, because the names that people are going to fancy about uh, Dan Lanning, Marcus Freeman, what were they before they got hired at Notre Dame and at Oregon? Defensive coordinator at Georgia and defensive coordinator at Cincinnati slash Notre Dame. That's what they were, and they're two of the best coaches in college football right now. And I guarantee you, there is a Kurt Signetti on somebody's staff right now, somebody who is the recruiting coordinator slash offensive line coach or tight end coach, who is getting passed over year after year for opportunities and promotions. And turns out he's the leader of men that you actually need. So stop. So fans, I implore you, stop trying to win the press conference and be happy if you get a really good head coach. Because at the end of the day, that is the only thing that matters, is a winning head coach. And who you think will make you a threat is not who will make you a threat. Um, what else we have in the chat? Is Lincoln Riley next at USC? No, USC is not paying this buyout at all. Somebody, yeah, he's due like another like $60 million or something. Yeah, they will not be paying that buyout over there at USC. What happened to Talking Ducks? Still trying to figure that out, because there is a root sports issue and all that stuff. But we'll talk about that as another day. But I want to go back for those who just hopped in. I want to go back to what I talked about in the beginning. Brian Kelly, $53 million in buyout money, unless he was like, yo, I'm out of here. I don't want to be a part of LSU no more because y'all don't want me here. So I'm getting up out of here. So that's the breaking news. He was 4-11 in ranked games. So for all of this talk about um about the head coach over there, James Franklin, for all the James Franklin talk, Brian Kelly was 4-11 in ranked games. And now we got the craziest portal, the craziest head coaching portal, LSU, Florida, Penn State. Now, which one of those is the most desirable job? We're not in an era where the most desirable job is the one that people should be going to. It is, where is the fit? That's why I said Fran Brown fits at Penn State. He would also fit at LSU. I believe that Brian Hartline would fit at LSU. Maybe even Will Stein, Bob Chesney at James Madison. These are options. But Brian Kelly made three critical errors at LSU once he first got the job. And it should have been a sign to everybody else that things were going awry and that this was not going to work. Number one thing is, when he left Notre Dame, how did only, I believe it was one coach come with him? Tommy Moffitt. I'm sorry, no, excuse me. Why did only the offensive coordinator come with him? And that's Mike Denbrock. And I know that Brian Kelly's a CEO model kind of guy. So either one or two things is true. And I said this earlier. Either Brian Kelly bigger, better dealed everybody on that Notre Dame staff and was like, they're not good enough for what I'm going to go do at LSU. Or they were like, we don't really fool with you like that. We gonna stay. So either one of those two things is true, and neither one of them is good. Neither one of them is good. So only Mike Denbrock coming with him and then Mike Denbrock leaving shortly after, that is a sign about what people who work with Brian Kelly think, because normally when coaches leave one job to go to the other, they have multiple coaches come with them. Multiple. And when you don't, that's a sign. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, when he got up there with that fake accent, that fake Louisiana accent, that was a bridge too far. Like, what are you doing, pal? What are you doing? Oh, hey, we're gonna go in here, and I haven't even won all my games yet. Like, where'd you find this Cajun accent? Ricky Bobby, where did you find this Cajun accent? Water guy from the Water Boy? Shocking. And then the third thing, well, actually there was actually four things, but the third thing was when he first got to LSU, he fired Tommy Moffitt, who is the legendary strength and conditioning coach. He was the strength and conditioning coach at all three of LSU's national championships in this century. All three. And you just give him the boot immediately, and now he's over there at Texas A&M, who just bulldozed you yesterday. The strength and conditioning coach has a unique relationship with the players, and when it is somebody who's been at a institution as long as Tommy Moffitt had, it does not work, because he has a connection to the players. He's got a connection to the past players. And I know this from going to the University of Oregon, because we had a strength and conditioning coach, Coach Rad, there for a very long time. And then as soon as they put Coach Rad away when Willie Taggart came, he came and brought his guy. All hell broke loose with the team, players in the hospital, all of this stuff. Because of a change in the strength and conditioning coach, it did not go over well. And then the next thing that he did is he fired G String. You're like, who the hell is G String, George? It is Greg Stringfellow, who was the equipment manager there, legendary equipment manager. And equipment managers have the pulse of the team. The players go hang out in the equipment room. They have conversations with the equipment manager and their staff that your coaches need. So if you are a brand new coach bringing a whole new staff into the building, you don't have eyes and ears on your team properly, because you have fired the strength and conditioning coach, and you fired the um and you fired the next and you fired the equipment manager. And Pete Thamel, actually, on a side note, just came out and said that the terms of the negotiation of the buyout are still not final yet. They are still negotiating them, which is crazy, because that the terms of the separation are still being negotiated. Now, what that says to me is that you had Brian Kelly, who is an ego man, that Brian Kelly was like, oh, y'all want me gone? Oh, cool, cool. I'm out there. I'm out, but I'm not gonna quit. Yeah, I'll show up to work. I'm not gonna quit. But you want me out, right? Okay, cool. Give me my money. No, 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 no. I'm not taking it light on you. Well, actually, you know what we can do? You owe me $53 million. You owe me $740,000 a month until December 31st, 2031. Okay. So I have offset language in my contract. So that means that if I get a new job that pays, because you were paying me over $10 million, if I get a new job and I get, and I'm getting $500,000 a month, then you only have to pay me $240,000 a month. So that's a good deal for LSU. But since you want me gone, you know what? Actually, I'm gonna give you a break. Just give me 35 million and no offset. This is the terms that they're negotiating. I promise you that. I'm sure of this. because he is probably frustrated and upset, and he got that ego because he never takes blame for anything. He blames the coaches, he blames the players, he blames everybody except for himself. Now, in the last press conference, well, it starts with me. I'm more disappointed than anybody else. I gotta be the one that's gonna be better, and all these. Yeah. We don't want to hear. We don't want to hear it. We do not want to hear it. So that's the situation there, and he's a head coach who I believe has put himself in a situation where he is going to be desirable to a lot of other schools. Now, think about and we're going to get out of here after this. Is I want you guys to pay attention to how Brian Kelly, who Brian Kelly is, and the job openings that are open. So, would you hire Brian Kelly at Oklahoma State? Yeah, he'll win there on some level. Would you hire him at Arkansas? Yes. Would you hire him at Colorado State? Yes. UAB? Yes. Would you hire him at Stanford? No. Would you hire him at Virginia Tech? Probably. It's just the truth. He's won everywhere he's been, but he also is not liked. He will wear out his welcome. Wear out his welcome at Notre Dame. Wear out his welcome at LSU. He's a wear out your welcome kind of guy. But he typically will produce results. But you can't talk to people the way that you used to and get away with it. We are in a whole new era, whole new life, whole new situation. So he is going to be able to find a job, but I want everybody to pay attention to this. There are very few head coaches. Well, out of all these head coaching jobs available, we've got LSU, Florida, Penn State, UCLA, Virginia Tech, Oklahoma State, Stanford, Arkansas, Oregon State, UAB, Colorado State, and then Auburn and Florida State may be on the way. So, and then if you take Brent Key, Clark Lee, Kenny Dillingham, Jeff Brom, and Kalani Sataki, Dan Lanning, and Marcus Freeman off the table, Mario Cristobal off the table. Now, where are all of these head coaches going to come from? That's the question. So you're going to have teams just grasping at straws and being desperate and just hiring somebody because it's going to win a press conference. So now you're actually going to have teams lose their offensive and defensive coordinators for some of these head coaching jobs. And then you're going to have some, like if Texas State, if J.G. Kinney gets a job, if Tulane gets a head coach, if John Summerall gets a head coaching job, Ryan Silverfield from Memphis, Eck over there at New Mexico, all those teams are now going to need new head coaches. And then you're going to go all the way down to like UC Davis at Tim Plow or Montana's head coach, or like this is going to be fallout at every single level. This is going to impact recruiting. Because if you are a kid or you are a family of a kid who is committed to somewhere, this is a fluid situation. There's a kid, at the high school that my kid went to. At he's committed to LSU. Now, who knows? Where's their legendary defensive backs coach? Where's he gonna go? I'm telling you, stuff is tricky around here. But you guys, we will continue to have updates. Make sure that you like, subscribe, get notifications, tell a friend about the Unafraid Show, and go back and look at the recap from last night popping out here in these streets. Peace out.